Well, I'm glad to bring David in. He and I had a great working relationship, and we had good players, and he did a great job coaching. Our staff was very good. I thought we meshed together pretty well. Daniel Robinson is out there who played for me at Little Rock. I'm not sure exactly what kind of stories they're going to tell on me, but I have a feeling that some of them might be true. So, David, welcome, and how you doing?
Doing fine, Wimp. How you and Barry doing this morning?
We're doing good.
We're doing good. Coach, tell everybody, I know you're out at Iowa State now. I guess it was news yesterday that kind of broke around here. Tell everybody kind of what you're doing now. And I know what I'm going to buy you for Christmas. I'm going to get you a coat because you're going to need it out there in Ames, Iowa.
Yeah. Well, you remember I came from Lexington, Kentucky back to Birmingham, so I got some coats.
That's true.
I saved them just in case. Yeah. So, but anyway, I was obviously working for the Utah Jazz and scouting for them for the last 5 years or so, and after the season was over, Steve, who was a manager for me at Alabama years ago, back in the early '90s, reached out and asked would I be interested in coming out and getting back into college basketball, and he was looking for somebody with experience and had been a head coach before, and just to kind of help them navigate some of the waters that you have to navigate. And, it kind of started as a dialogue and then morphed into more. And at the end of the day, I ended up accepting the position. But, I just got to Ames 2 days ago and kind of getting the lay of the land and seeing about housing areas and trying to meet some of the players, which I haven't met all of them yet. And, just kind of get acclimated. I'm going to be out here for about 10 days and then come back to Birmingham and tie up some loose ends and then come back out here for school.
David, I never ever told this. I was interviewed on that job back years and years ago when Lynn Nance got it from Kentucky. They brought me in there and hid me out. I only had 4 or 5 guys interviewed, and it was a good interview. I just didn't get it, of course. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't even tell you a long time ago. I did get an interview. The athletic director was a guy who I'd known for a long time. He called me and asked if I'd be interested. I went out for an interview, but Lynn Nance got it from Kentucky. He'd been in the NCAA, and I guess he did a pretty good job. That's good basketball country, a very good basketball school. I've done a game out there on radio or television, one of the two, and they have a lot of passion for basketball out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I had a lot of guys in the NBA, that came out here. I didn't, being a Southeast regional scout, I saw Iowa State play several times, but I never came out here to see them. It's more, them coming into a tournament in Florida, this, that, and the other. So I didn't really know that much about it. I'm not even sure I've been to the state of Iowa before. I was trying to rack my brain to see if I'd been through here other than just connecting in an airport or something. But anyway, there's a lot of guys in the NBA that I know well that had told me when the word leaked out that this was in the process, called to tell me what a good interest that these people had in basketball, and that's what I understand. I think they've been sold out, Wimp. The arena seats maybe 14,000 or something in that range, and they've been sold out for the last 7 or 8 years in a row or something. So,
well, Tim Floyd was out there for a while. He did an excellent job, and
actually, you may or may not remember this, but I had James Green on my staff first at Alabama, and he was big buddies with Tim Floyd. Had worked with him before at Idaho before Tim was here. And then when Tim got this job, he came back in and offered Greeny a bunch of money to come out here, and he actually left Alabama to come out to Iowa State. But actually, there's some similarities between Kentucky and here. I'm not saying that Iowa State is Kentucky by any stretch, but what I am saying is it's if you want to label it, it would be called kind of a basketball school. Unlike a lot of schools in the Southeastern Conference where football is so dominant. But, they support football here just like they did at Kentucky, so I understand. And a lot of people come to the games, but they have a hard time competing, just like Kentucky has a hard time competing in the SEC. Iowa State's had a hard time competing in the Big 12. So, but the basketball is kind of the bellwether sport for this particular university, and there's a lot of interest. And similar to Alabama, there's no pro sports in the state of Iowa, so the college sports are the thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes out. And I was happy to come out here and join Steve. I've known him for 20 years now, and he's a stand-up guy, a good family man. Has done things the right way, not skipped steps to get where he is. He's paid his dues, and so I'm excited to be out here.
Coach, tell us, with the NBA in college, you were out scouting for the Utah Jazz. Something needs to change there. I think some of these guys now are getting drafted on potential, and you have to take them when they're really, really young. It seems like now staying in college 3 or 4 years is a bad thing for a kid. Like if he stayed that long, then there's something wrong with him. They over-evaluate him. Does the system need to change? Maybe do it like baseball, where
having been on both ends, Barry, I think that's exactly what would be the best solution for both. I'm not sure exactly why, the system is what it is. And, a lot of people, blame it on the NBA, but, part of it's the Players Association. I've never understood, even being in the NBA, why the Players Association, with these veteran players and so forth, would vote to have these young players, coming into the league. And as an evaluator, when you've got 1 year to evaluate a guy in college, there's a lot of hit and miss. I mean, you don't get enough of a sample size to, absolutely predict what this guy's going to be. Some of them come from different programs in college, require different things for them. So it's a lot of question marks. So, it's absolutely a trial and error type of thing when you're drafting. This is certainly not an exact science. And again, you don't have enough sample size. But I think what happens is it has become a thing where a lot of these kids feel like, well, if I don't go out after 1 year, they come in thinking that most of them, and, of course, Coach, you remember back even when you were doing it, a bunch of these kids think they're a lot better than they are.
Oh, sure.
So,
yep.
So what happens is they come in, they think they're going to be in college for 1 year, and all of a sudden they get exposed in that 1 year. But when they come back the second or third year, they think, that they failed. But, on the other hand, there are some success stories. Denzel Washington, for example, this year, or Buddy Hield, or somebody that's come in, kind of honed their skills, gotten better every year, and, cashed in on the back end. As a pro franchise, you have a better feel for those guys than you do for the guy that's been there 1 year and, it's hit or miss.
Yeah, I just think it would be better for the college game, but it would help the pro game too. They would, either go right out of high school or stay 3 years. That way, the pro guys got a better chance to really evaluate the guys instead of now. You're in the lottery probably because you didn't have a great year, and you end up taking a guy who's 18 or 19 years old, and when he's really ready to help you, he's a free agent. So it's bad on both sides. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. It's one of those things that my thing would be just like baseball. If you got that rare talent that Kobe Bryant or somebody that can come directly from high school. Now, and I know that people. Some of these kids, with especially if they've got people in their ear telling them this and that and hoping to cash in on the kids, hitting the lottery of going in the NBA, they're gonna take a chance, and it's gonna be a bad gamble. They're gonna flame out in no time going directly from high school. But I think it would cut down on the numbers that tried it. And then either go out of high school directly into the NBA, or if you choose to go to college, then you need to stay 3 years. I think that would solve a lot of ills, take a lot of pressure off of kids, to perform right that first year. And all the people around them having expectations of them, they come in with such outsized expectations now, and then it's difficult to live up to them. And if they don't, then people think they're failures.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a fair question, but I'll ask it anyway. And I'll say it. I don't know if you can, but the SEC has been down the last several years. I think you and I talked about it when I saw you over scouting at one of the games. When you and Dad were at Alabama, I look at some of those pictures, and I look at the players that you guys had, and then when you were the head coach, the players that you had. What does the SEC need to do to get it back to where it used to be? I'll say in the 80s. I guess maybe it was good in the 90s as well, but it's been down for a while. What do you see as a guy that's been around going and watching college basketball and these guys? What is the SEC missing? Is it recruiting? They're just missing these guys are going all over the country now. What's the missing link there?
Well, I don't want to make a lot of comments about the SEC when I'm in the Big 12.
I understand.
It's one of those things that, we had a lot of good players. There was some interest in basketball. There was a lot of different programs, youth programs and so forth going on, particularly down in Birmingham. And I think over time, one of the things in SEC country is the profile of football, which was already huge. Bear Bryant and the whole thing is actually gotten stronger, and it's even more emphasis on it. It seems like to me, and less emphasis on basketball. So some of these guys that probably be very good basketball players are not even playing basketball. The second thing is obviously you got to get players. And then you got to develop those guys as it goes along. But I don't really know the answer of why, but it does seem like that the talent level, where you have guys that are very good, you just don't seem to have the numbers of them, and of course, Wimp knows this. In the SEC, with the exception of Kentucky and maybe to a certain extent Florida, which is not, we'll see how that goes with Billy Donovan out of there. But you're really dependent on your state talent. It's hard to go into a surrounding state, that you touch, and get the best players out of that state because they have state universities that are in the SEC as well. So. Again, I don't really know the answer, but I don't even know if it's cyclical, but hopefully for the SEC people in that area it is, and things will come back and they'll have a higher profile than maybe they do right now.
David, how many scouts does say Utah have, or each team have? Is there a limit on them, and do y'all cross over?
There's no limit. Yeah, there's no limit on it, Wimp. There's that I know of. I mean, because there are staffs that are, have more people than we had at Utah, and there's definitely staffs that have less people than we did at Utah. When Dennis Lindsey, he's out of the San Antonio tree. He's the GM at Utah. He came in, and of course, all these teams in the NBA are picking up on these guys from San Antonio, the Spurs organization. It's kind of like this gold standard or whatever. So a lot of those guys that are assistant GMs or whatever are getting picked up as GMs, which, Dennis Lindsey for us, the guy that just got the job with the Nets is from the Spurs tree, and so on. There's plenty of them in the NBA. But he brought in what their model was, and that was for us at Utah. We had 4 regional scouts, one in the Southeast, one in the Northeast, one in the Midwest, and one in the West.
Right.
And your charge is to know the guys in your area, top to bottom, know what their skill level is, what kind of value they would bring to a team, all about them personally in terms of, do they have issues that are going to be a problem, particularly in like Salt Lake City, and so on, but there is crossover. Sometimes they come into your deal, your area. But for us, what we did was at tournament time, my main leagues to cover were the ACC and the SEC, it being in the Southeast. So, I saw all those teams from both of those. The AAC is in that region as well, which has had quite a few good players and so forth. But come tournament time, we would always go to another place. For example, this past year, I spent I think it was 12 or 13 days in Las Vegas because they had 4 different tournaments out there. And, what you're doing then is just kind of crossing over and taking a look at the people that the regional scout liked in that area, and you giving an opinion on them as well. You just see somebody else. Like I never went to the ACC or the SEC tournament because I saw those guys all year long. So come tournament time, I would go to the Big 12 or the Big 10 or in this case, of last year, the Pac-12 and the WAC and the WCC and, you know, all those tournaments we were out there in Vegas.
Well, we sure appreciate you being there. Tell Danielle Robinson I said hello. He's a very good player for me. He had a little bit of a hard time with me, but I liked him a great deal. He's a nice
Everybody
kid.
has a hard time with you, Wimp.
Yeah, he just doesn't know it. Yeah, tell those guys.
He's had a lot of good things to say, and I'm sure we'll tell some stories. You know, I don't know if it'll be fish stories or not, but we'll tell some.
Yeah,
I got some. I'm looking forward to Polinsky coming out here because he'll tell them some too.
Oh yeah, he'll add a whole lot.
Yeah, Danielle.
Yeah, he might embellish his story a little bit, but it'll have some basis of fact in it.
Well, you got to add a little bit to it. You got a little, you know, as you get a little older. So yeah, I love those guys, Steve and Danielle, both close with both those guys. So tell them we said hello, and we'll have another reason to pull for the Cyclones now with you being out there. So
Thanks
I appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Wimp. See you.